Well, we have something completely different on the bench today. I wasn't going to film this at all, but I found it kind of interesting. These clocks, this is a clock, and every hour when it becomes midnight, the horned owl hoots, and so on, northern mockingbird, you know, on and so forth around the dial face. I've always found these clocks pretty interesting. Somebody I know loves them. She really just goes over the moon for them. And I found this one at a at an estate sale. I got like almost for free. It's really cheap. It's an Audubon, National Audubon Society clock. I'm not sure when this thing was made, how long they made them for. I don't know. But you think, you know, National Audubon, I'm sure this was not cheap to buy. It comes apart. There's 4 screws around the outside of it that hold this bezel and the glass in place. And then once you get that out of the way, let's see if I can put that over there out of the way for now without having it crash. Then you're left with this screwed down by these 4 screws here. But before you can do that, you have to remove the needles, which I have laying here, and a nut and washer, which are laying here. Nut and washer laying right here. And then those 4 screws, and then this lifts off of the clock face. And you're left with this mess. Now, I've seen some cheap stuff before, but I don't know. I guess it really wouldn't matter that much, but I mean, I worked on cranes, mobile hydraulic cranes for years and years, and was a field service mechanic. And all the stuff made in America, even German, and all the Japanese stuff, all the equipment I ever ran into, the electrical connections were really solid because it's a really big thing, you know, to have good electrical connections. And when I was a kid, first stereo I installed or any electrical wiring I did on a car, I always tried to use butt connectors or some sort, but every once in a while in a pinch you have to twist the wires together, which they've done here. I was surprised to see this when I took the clock apart, because the birds weren't chiming. The clock works, but the birds weren't chiming every time, and when they did, it was very distorted. So I took a look at the battery holder, because there's 2 battery holders, one for the clock, which is built into the clock mechanism, which I think I can turn this over and show you. So there's a battery that goes here, and then there's 2 batteries that go here. I didn't look at it real close because it was so cheap at the yard sale, and I thought, well, if there's anything wrong with it, I more than likely can fix it. And sure enough, got looking at this, and somebody had left the batteries in it, and they corroded, obviously. I mean, that's kind of what happens to these things. So I thought, well, when I took it apart and I got this holder pulled out of here, the wires just fell off of it. So I'm thinking it was a bad connection. And I thought, you know, I'll take a look at this. And this board, there's another one right here that's freaking twisted together too. No solder, no heat shrink. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. And this wire right here was sitting up here and it was smashed flat. And I know it's supposed to be down in here held in place with these other wires. I mean, just shoddy construction. I mean, people just do not care about their jobs or the finished product anymore. Now, I don't know how old this is, but looking at it, I mean, 10, 15 years, I don't know. Obviously, this works. You know what I mean? You're hanging it on the wall, so it's not going to get a lot of vibration. Not like it's driving around in your car or something. But still, I mean, come on. Once you put that cover on and it gets shipped from, let's say it was made in Taiwan. I don't even think it says where it's made. In the Audubon Society, I would just assume that this stuff would be made in America, but no. And I don't know if it says on the back here. I didn't look. Yeah, made in China. Patent pending. Made in China. So, you know, you put something like this together, and then you put the cover on it, and you put it in a box, and it gets shipped across the ocean from China, and then who knows where it went in America, on a truck, plane, who knows? This could have easily been shorted out against the frame of this. I don't know if that would matter, if there's anything for it to short out, but they just don't make stuff to last. But I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But I thought I would like to make this work for her, because I'm sure she would just go over the moon to get another one of these that work properly. So I went to my local electronics shop, and I thought, well, maybe I could get a AA battery holder that'll fit. And sure enough, I didn't take this one with me, but I did. They're really close to the same height. This one's actually a little bit taller, but I think it's going to pop right down in there. And this one, the wires were soldered. We'll take a look at this one a little closer. Let's see, I have something to hold this with. Because in my fingers, I don't know if you're going to see it, but they just soldered it right on the... Oh, come on. There, get my fat fingers out of the way. You can see they just soldered it. They just soldered it right on the face of it, no terminal or nothing. So they just laid the wire right onto the steel and soldered it. I mean, it's crap. There ain't no hole or nothing. I mean, they just don't make stuff like they used to. I know I'm complaining, preaching to the choir. I'm pretty sure anybody who's watching this probably knows. So my plan is, these wires are so corroded and they're kind of short anyway. So when I was at the electronics store, when the birds did make noise, they were pretty distorted. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just change the capacitors. There's two electrolytics, 3.3 at 50 volt on this board. I'll switch those out. And while I was there, I got some 22 gauge wire, which I have some 22 gauge there, but it's solid. And I believe this is flexible, multi-strand, but I just grabbed it off the shelf without looking real close. Now that I got it home, I may have just spent my money on nothing. It's a big waste of time, you big dorkopotamus. Yep, solid wire. I thought I got multi-stranded wire. But that's okay, this will work. Why did they gotta put that? They put the shrink wrap all the way down inside the wire. Why couldn't they just put it over it? Why does it gotta be all the way down inside there to unspool my wire? Ugh. I guess I got a little sand in the old VJ. So, I got some black and I got some red. I've got some 18 gauge flexible here somewhere that I could use, but I think that might be too big for the connections on the board themselves. And I'm debating about whether and soldering right to the board. Oh, I should be able to. I should be able to desolder those and solder new on there. These electrolytics are pretty small. These are just as small though. So I think this is all going to work out good. As I go, I'll come back and show you my progress. My plan is to go ahead and either slide a piece of heat shrink over this after I solder these wires, and just slide a piece of heat shrink over it. I think that might be the best thing to do. Yeah. It has a little photo sensor right here, so when it gets dark, it doesn't make noise at night when you're trying to sleep. So, I mean, the engineering behind it is pretty good. There's a little switch in here so that every top of the hour, it makes contact and triggers the board to make the bird sing. So these two batteries here, these AA's, the two AA's power the bird and the speaker, the bird noise generation, I guess you would say. And then there's a little button here. So you push this, you set the clock, and then you push the button, and because each time you push the button, it does the bird songs in order. So you push the button until you get, pardon me, so that the bird sound matches what's on the face of the clock. And then from that point on, as you adjust the time and the hour comes around, it will click correctly to the, correct bird noise to match the picture or the dial face. So, I mean, the engineering behind it is awesome. I just wish the execution was a little better, the build quality. But I guess if they made these things to last forever, then you would never buy another one, would you? So they make the clock once, it lasts for 200 years or whatever it is. Like they used to make clocks that, there are clocks that were made hundreds of years ago that are still working today. So, well, I don't know about hundreds of years, but I mean, there's old clocks in the world working today still. They may not be completely accurate or as accurate as modern timepieces, but they're still working. Oh yeah, by the way, this board was just sitting right here, and it was taped into place with masking tape. With Scotch tape. I mean, like clear tape. It's obviously it came that way. I don't think anybody's ever been in this. Why would anybody ever take this apart but me? Yeah, I don't know. But if you do find one of these and they're screwed up, they're fairly repairable for the most part if you have, a halfway understanding of how things work. It's not that overly complicated. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is the clock mechanism stops working. And these are pretty cheap clock mechanisms, but I don't think I've ever seen one with an electrical switch built into it like this. I'm sure they make them and sell them. I've never looked. But I've known people who used to make clocks out of burl wood when I was a kid. And it was just something that you could just order from a mail order catalog, and you get the needles. You could buy different types of needles to go on to the clock mechanism to match the dial face that you've made for your clock. There used to be a clock store in the area probably 8, 10, maybe 15 years ago. But I think it's long gone. I don't think it's around anymore. But you could go in there and buy like whole clocks, or you could buy parts for the clock. I'm not sure if like wood supply stores do that now. Like Rockler or Woodcraft, if they sell stuff like this, like you could go into their into the woodworking store, and they might have a section that have the little numbers that you just drill a hole in the piece of wood, and then you can glue the number into place. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna give this a go and see if we can get this thing working correctly. I mean, how hard can it be? I mean, I think we can only improve on what they've done here. I mean, they didn't do very well, obviously. And probably would have never been a problem if somebody would have just changed the batteries in it instead of leaving the batteries in there to corrode, you know. But alkaline batteries didn't used to be all that great. It was pretty common for them to leak, you know. I mean, even before the battery was dead, sometimes they would leak. I'm not sure why. Temperature, I'm not sure. So I'm going to give this a go and see if I can't get this fixed. I'll have to change the tip on the desoldering gun to get small enough down in there around these little connections here on these electrolytics. And I think where the wires go through the board, I'll have to be careful with everything here so I don't bust another wire. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back when there's some progress to look at. Well, I got the electrolytics replaced. I got the new battery holder soldered, wire soldered to it, new wires installed. 2 batteries put in it. But there is a problem. This battery holder is just a bit too tall. If we compare the height, I don't know if that's going to come through very well. I'll try to show this. The height difference is a bit. So this one snapped in. You can see it fits in under there. It fits under those little clips, so it can't come out. And then these block it from sliding back and forth. This one is just too tall, and it's a bit longer too. It's just a smidgen longer. No, it's just too tall. Sorry, just too tall. Because then this lip of the battery holder would sit on this plastic. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. I could cut out the plastic here, get rid of this lip right here, then it would sit down further. But I'm wondering if those edges would keep you from, because when you switch these batteries, when you remove these batteries, these lips will flare out. And would it make it very, see if you watch real close right here, see how it flares out a bit? I think it might be okay if I cut it, so I'm not sure how I would cut it. I have several ideas. But I'll cut that away, and I'll bring you back when I get that done and show you how it works and if I can change the batteries or not. If I can get this to clip in, then you'll be able to push on it pretty hard, you know, to dig the batteries out without popping it. I don't want this to pop. I have to look at the inside of the clock. I might put like some double-sided foam or something here, so that when you do push on it, you're pushing on the back side of the clock face, so you can't pop this out. I like a permanent fix, so and stuff these wires down in here like they're supposed to be, but it does work now. Every time I push the, see, there's a button here. There's a button. There's a button here. Oh, why is it not working now? What did I do? Did I put the battery in wrong? Oh, what happened to this? It was working. Now I gotta question what's going on. Why didn't it work when I pushed that button the first time? Woody woodpecker. That sure sounds like a Canadian goose to me. Who knows? Oh, great. See if I broke it. Nope. It's a good thing it has a photocell on it, because if that was going off at night when I'm sleeping, it would be a broken clock in the morning by the time somebody woke up. But the photo, let's see, I will double check that before I put it back together. I'll have to I'll put the cover back on and get the clock arms or needles back onto it, and then I will cover the photocell and make sure when you come to the top of the hour it doesn't chime, or it doesn't sing. The birdies don't sing at the top of the hour. When I get this figured out what I'm going to do, I'll come back and show you what my solution was to this battery holder problem. It sure would be nice if I could reuse this, but it's pretty crapped. I could soak it in some vinegar, I guess. I just don't think it's worth it for the $1.65, whatever this thing costs. It wasn't very much. They're pretty cheap. It might be better to modify it, and then you got a, solid fix. So we'll be back. Well, I got the battery holder installed. I put a little super glue on it to hold it in place. I kind of figure if it's gonna screw up, it's gonna screw up. Nothing I can do. Let that set up for a few hours before I mess with it anymore, or try to change the batteries before I put the back on. I want to mount this board somehow, but they just had it taped in here, so I may just have to do the same thing, just throw some tape over it. I don't have my hot glue gun. I let somebody borrow it, or otherwise I'd put a little dab and mount it, by the electrolytics down here. But I think it's still working. Yep. Still working, so pardon me. So there's the back of it with the batteries in it. We'll get a I made kind of a mess with the Dremel. Some of this is probably melted into this. Yeah, some of this might be one with this microfiber cloth. We'll see. I'll see if I can get it cleaned out. Yeah, I'll get that board mounted down, and I think I can start reassembling this. It's supposed to be holding that wire. Yeah. Boy, I hope that's not sticking up too high. I don't think it is. Well, we'll get it back together. I got some heat shrink on these wires like I said I was going to do, and soldered them back. So it's better than it was. Better than the way I found it. Maybe it'll last another, I don't even know how old this thing is, so I can't say how long, you know, how old it is, how long it's going to last, or how long it's been around. So, well, we'll get her back together, and I'll clean some of this up. There's some more cleaning that needs to be done to it looks like. Just a little bit of housekeeping to be done here on it. And yeah, we'll get her back together. I'll clean that. It actually has a piece of glass that covers the clock face. I thought it would be a piece of plastic. It's actual glass. So I'll be able to use some spray away on that and get it real nice and clean. All right, thanks for watching. We'll be back when we're got some more progress. Well, the clock's back together. I cleaned the glass. Put the clock hands back on. Needles, hands. I put battery in the clock mechanism so it's ticking away. I did not set the time. I just ran it around and made sure that when it got to the top of the hour that the correct bird sang. So the next one to sing when it gets to the top of 5 o'clock should be, where is it? There it is. It should be the Canadian goose. I'm trying not to get the, go really slow here at the end. I'll make sure. So there it is. I did make sure that optical, that light sensor worked. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. It looks pretty good. And the back of it with the new battery holder installed turned out okay. She's gonna love it. I know I like it. I don't want it hanging near my bed, because if the sun comes up in the summertime at like 4 o'clock in the morning, this thing's gonna start singing around 5 and I'm gonna smash it. But it's pretty nice. It's actually it looks very nice from a, you know, it just looks very nice. So you can hardly even tell that there's a piece of glass in there other than the reflection from the light, from the work light. So, well, there you have it, the Audubon Society bird singing clock. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment down below.